We extracted this button with progress as a separate component, and we have seen the slot functionality. Now we are going to see more examples about this slot, and we will do that on another component. Other than this button with progress, we are also repeating this style here for the sign up form, the login, and also we do the same thing here in the user list. Basically, we are using the cart layout of the Bootstrap, and we are repeating the styles in each of these. So let's create a separate component for this one, for this layout, and use that one for each of these use cases. So creating a new component, and this is cart view, and we can start from the login page. So the cart is like this. So there is a parent element having this cart style, and then we have the cart header and the cart body. So starting like this, we have a template and we have a div. This is the root div, and the style will be cart, and closing that div. And in this div we have another div having the class of cart header, this part. And let's open the sign up too. So this one, and we have this one in user list too, right here. And in all of these cards we are centering the header. So instead of like setting the text center in the header or in this one, we did the text center in the cart header. So we can do the same thing here. So that this is text center. And now we will have a slot here. We are going to be filling this slot in the sign up page with the sign up text, in the login page with this one, and in the home page in the user list with this text. So this slot will be filled dynamically. And the next thing is we will have this div having the cart body class, and this one will also have slot. And in sign up page, this slot is containing this form inputs and login inputs. Now we have two slots, but in this case, when we add a child element to cart, we cannot control which slot to be filled. To use specific slots in the usage of the cart, we can use naming for the slot. So for this slot in the cart header, we can set the name as, let's say, header. And when we are adding a child element to this cart, if we specify we are specifically inserting this element to the header, this slot will be used. Otherwise, this one, which doesn't have name assigned to it, this is considered as default, and if we don't specify the name of the slot in the usage, this part will be filled. So the cart is ready. Let's use this one in login page. So just like this one, we will import cart from components, and let's add the cart here. And we are going to use the cart right here. So the form will be wrapping the cart, so removing this cart style from this form and having this cart here, opening and closing the cart. Now we are going to use this h1 in this cart, so pasting here, and this is going to be positioned in this slot, and we do that by wrapping this one with template, and we use the directive of v slot, and there is colon and the slot name header. Closing the template and moving the h1 into this one. And since the div has all content in center, we don't need to repeat this text center right here. And the rest of the elements, like this input, the danger part here, or this div, will be positioned in this part. So we are not specifying a slot for these. These are just directly child element for this card. And since we are not specifying any slot name for these, they are going to be added right here. So we replaced this implementation with our own card. So let's save this one. So we don't see any difference right here, but if we inspect this page with the Vue DevTools, here we have the component, this anonymous component. This is basically the login page. Since we didn't set name for this component, let's do that right here. Let's say the name as login page. Now if we open the DevTools here, this is login page, and we have this card, and we have these inputs and the button with progress. So when we don't specify the slot name, the default slot, which doesn't have name, is used. But let's have a slot name for the body too. So let's set the name for the card body slot as body, and let's wrap this part template v slot body, and closing the template and moving this input and the button into this template. Saving these changes. Nothing is broken on page. Now let's use this card in sign up page too. So again, we are going to import card from components card, and we will use card component. So this one will, again, removing the card from the form and having card right here, closing card. And we have template v slot header. So this each one will be at the header slot, and we have another template slot body. So this inputs and the button part will be in this slot, and now we can remove this card header and card body part. So opening the sign up page and saving this one, and nothing is changed here, everything is properly working. And if we inspect this one, so we have the sign up page, we have card in it, and we see the other parts. Now let's use this one in this user list. So we have this user list having the card, we have the header, but also this one has this footer right here, card footer. So first thing is we need to update our card here. So just like the header and the body, we will have card footer, and let's name the slot as footer. By the way, we use this text center, so let's do the same thing in this card footer too. Now let's have this card in here. We are importing the card from current directory card using card here, and let's replace this one, this root div, with card, and the closing div is card. And instead of having this div, we will have template and we slot header. This is going to be positioned in the header. Now we have this unordered list, and we didn't specify cart body or cart footer, anything for this previously. So this is not part of the Bootstrap cart layout sections. We will get to that, but first let's fix this part too. This one is also going to be replaced with template, and we slot is footer, and closing the template. Let's save this one. It's not going to replace the existing user list, but let's save this. Now the header is here, and we have the footer too, but the users are not visible because now we have these child element in this cart, and currently we don't have any default slot, so we need to specify the slot name to show the elements in this component. So to make this visible, we can use template for this one to use the, let's say, the slot body like this. Let's say we have template, we slot body, and closing the template here. Let's say this. Now we see the user list right here, but this is not the style we are looking for, because now this is positioned in cart body, but there is spacing between the borders, the edge borders, and the actual content. So this is not what we are looking for. For a solution, we can go like this. We can have a slot like right here. Let's have this slot. So this is the default slot. One of the options is we can just remove this template at all and keep this UL here, so it's going to be positioned in default slot, or we can just specify that we are going to use the default slot like this. So if we save these, now the users are shown a little bit better, but we still have this space right here. And that is because, let's inspect this part. That is because in here we have this cart body. So we have this unordered list, but also we have this cart body. But in user list, we are not using that slot in any of these parts. But by default, this cart is inserting this div to the markup, and this cart body has the spacing, so it is using this space and is making itself visible. But also, if we go to the sign up page, here we have this footer. Previously we didn't use footer right here, and also we have the same thing right here in the login page. So we are not using this footer slot in these forms for the login and sign up, and we are not using the cart body, this part, in the user list. So we can conditionally show slots in our custom elements, and for instance, for this cart body, we can say this div will be visible with the if, and now we can get the slots provided from parent component. So just like this user list, when it is using this cart, it is using these slots, and we can access to the assigned slots like this $ slots, and we can check if the body is filled. So if anything is assigned to the body, this is going to be true, then this part will be visible. But if we don't have any assignment to the slot of body, this is going to be false, and this part will not be visible. Since we are not passing anything to the slot of body here in the user list, this part won't be visible. Let's save this one. Here we can see that spacing is gone, and if we inspect this part, here we have the cart header, and then we have this unordered list and the cart footer. So the cart body is gone. And we can fix the behavior for these forms. So the cart footer is optional, and this is going to be visible if we are setting slot for footer. Saving this, and that footer is gone. And also it is gone right here in the sign up, but here in the user list we have the footer. Now all layouts are back to their styles. This lecture was more about practicing the slot for the different use cases, and with these slots we are able to extract the repeating markup as a component and reuse them with different use cases. One of the options to extract this markup as a separate component is if in future we want to change the style of these elements. We don't need to repeat ourselves in each of these pages or in each of these components. All we need to do is come here and update the card, the class names, or the whatever we are looking for. Then all will be applied to the others. So just like we can say, we can set the style of, let's say, border to be 1 pixel and solid red. Let's see what's going to happen. Here we have border around this user list, but also we have the border in the sign up page and in login page. If this was the style we are going to apply in each of these components, before this card component, we had to update each of these components separately to achieve the same functionality. So the advantage of extracting the component is this one, so undoing this part, and with this way we are having consistent style and reusable components, and this is reducing the repeating parts in our code, and it is reducing the maintenance cost of our application.